Hello, My name is Jay Arkwell. Thank you for checking out my insight about the power of insistency and consistency in self-care. The mission of my life is to inspire people to make positive changes in their life through mental health and through cultural competency. I'm a professional speaker and trainer. I started my consulting firm back in 2017 called Coffee with JR. The mission of Coffee with JR is to humanize mental health in DEI conversation. So today, I want to explore a topic that resonates deeply with many of us, especially those who are dedicated to caring for others. Whether you are a healthcare professional, a nonprofit leader, a caregiver, or simply someone who pours their heart into their community work, the concepts of self-care, compassion fatigue, and burnout are not just abstract ideas. They are lived experiences that shape our daily lives. So self-care is often spoken as a luxury, right? Or an afterthought, something that to squeeze in when there's time. But I want to challenge that notion. Self-care is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is the foundation upon which we build our capacity to care for others, to lead effectively, and to live a balanced and fulfilling life. However, self-care, more than just it's not just taking a day off or indulging in a treat now and then. It's about insisting on our own well-being, even when it feels like the last thing that we have time for. It's about showing up for ourselves with consistency, creating daily routines that affirm our value and reinforce our resiliency. But what happens when self-care feels out of reach? When the norm of self-sabotaging takes over, telling us that we don't deserve it. This is a common experience, especially for those who have experienced trauma. Trauma can distort our sense of self-worth, leading us to believe that caring for ourselves is selfish or unnecessary. This can create a cycle of self-neglect where we push ourselves to the brink, only to feel guilt or shame when we inevitably burn out. The key to break this cycle is to recognize that self-care is not about indulgence. It's about survival. It's about giving ourselves permission to rest, to heal, to prioritize our well-being without feeling guilt. It's about understanding that we deserve care. The concepts of insistency and consistency are crucial when talking about self-care. Insistency means that demanding our right to care for ourselves, regardless of the internal or external pressure that tell us otherwise. It's about making a commitment to ourselves that we will prioritize our well-being when life gets busy, when life gets hard, even when it feels uncomfortable, and especially when we are tempted to neglect our needs. Consistency, on the other hand, is about making self-care a habit. Healing and resiliency are not built overnight. They require regular, sustained efforts. Consistency means integrating it into our daily life, whether it's through small acts of kindness to ourselves, regular breaks, or creating boundaries that protect our energy. Over time, these practices build a foundation of strength that allow us to face life challenges with greater ease. The example I like to use is that this is a mental exercise. So imagine going to a gym once a year for 10 hours versus going to the gym once a month for 3 hours. Which one's better? Now think about this. Going to the gym once a month for 3 hours versus going to the gym every day just for 30 minutes. Which one is more effective and efficient, right? I think the answer is pretty obvious, right? So it is about, ultimately, it's about this consistency, making these micro changes. Yes, they are micro, they are small. But just imagine 3 to 6 months from now, or maybe even 9 months, these micro changes become macro transformations. Another important topic I want to address is compassion fatigue and burnout. Two closely related but distinct challenges that many of us face. Compassion fatigue is often described as the cost of caring. It happens when the emotional toll of caring for others becomes overwhelming, leading to feeling of exhaustion, detachment, even numbness. It can come out of nowhere, triggered by a particular difficult situation or a series of distressing events. Burnout, on the other hand, is a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged and excessive stress. Burnout can affect anyone who's under constant stress, constant pressure, regardless of the nature of their work. So according with studies about stress, in our line of work, compassion fatigue is the stage right before burnout. When folks experiencing compassion fatigue with self-care and self-love, after a few weeks, we can decrease the stress and anxiety level and return back to the baseline and avoid getting sucked into the burnout zone. However, if we don't slow down and take care of ourselves, we can get sucked into the burnout zone. And once we're in the burnout zone, according with studies, it's going to take minimally 6 months, sometimes even up to 2 years to get back to that baseline. So, and we all have witnessed and heard stories about people giving all they have to the community, to the people, their energy, their time. And after a few years, these folks suddenly either disappeared or they just snapped, right? So for those of us in the roles of supporting our people, again, self-care is about longevity. It's about how we can continuously to do what we love to do and serve our people, our community for a long time. So, yes, while work can be a source of fulfillment and maybe even self-care, it is important to remember that it should not be our only form of self-care. Over-resiliency on work for our well-being can lead to an imbalance, where other aspects of our life are neglected. This can set the stage for burnout, even if the work itself is rewarding. So for nonprofit leaders like all of you, the challenge of burnout is compounded by the weight of responsibilities. When your work is your passion and your form of self-care, it can be difficult to draw the line between where your professional life ends and your personal life begins. It's easy to over-identify with your role, to feel that you must be available at all times and push yourself to the point of exhaustion. But leadership is not about doing everything ourselves. It's about guiding and supporting others. To avoid burnout, it is essential to set boundaries, delegate tasks, create micro moments of self-care throughout the day. These small, intentional breaks can help us to reset, recharge, and preventing burnout from taking hold. Maintaining a healthy balance requires conscious effort. It's about recognizing when work is becoming too much, setting boundaries, embracing other forms of self-care that nurtures different parts of our lives. Whether it's spending time with loved ones, engaging in hobbies, or simply taking time to rest, these activities help create a well-rounded approach to self-care. For example, I recently embarked on this amazing project, one that I poured my heart and soul into it. It is something that grew out of a deep need for self-healing and redemption for my own mental health. From the very beginning, it was about restoring balance in my life, finding purpose in my work. And for a time, it was fulfilling. But as time went on, unforeseen factors began to creep in. Drama, stress that I did not anticipate began to surround the project. Elements, truthfully, that I don't care for. These distractions were not part of the vision I have for this work, and they have added years or layers of stress that I never intended to carry. As I began to wrap up this project, an opportunity presented itself, another potential funding to continue to work in similar direction. But I have made a choice, one that is hard but necessary. I turn it down. Why? Because the purpose for which I started this project, for my mental health, for my healing, I have already achieved these. To continue forward would mean opening myself up to even more of these unwanted factors that could negatively and severely impact my quality of life. I have noticed that the more I have to think or engage with this project right now, the more I feel this internal dread creeping in. And these are signs of compassion fatigue, where the emotional investment I have made have begun to take a toll. I recognize that if I do not adjust or pivot now, I could find myself in the burnout zone. And here where self-care comes in. Sometimes the best way to take care of ourselves is to just walk away. It's about knowing when the work we are doing, no matter how important, how valuable, start to cost more than it gives. For me, the best way forward to protect my own mental health, honor my contractors and my stakeholders, is to pass the baton on. I have done what I set out to do, and now it is time for someone else to carry it forward. Someone that's passionate, capable, and ready to take on challenges that I no longer want to bear. The decision is not about giving up. It's about prioritizing my self-care. It's about recognizing when something that once healed me now risks becoming a source of harm. Walking away allows me to continue to grow while leaving the project in a good hands for someone else to nurture. So, how do we manage these challenges? How do we navigate the fine line for caring for others versus caring for ourselves? The answer lays in a combination of awareness, self-care, and support. So here are the 5 actions / mindsets that I have used for my own self-care. First, prioritize self-care. Make self-care a non-negotiable part of our life. This includes not only physical care, but also emotional and mental well-being. We have to insist on engaging in activities that bring us joy, that help us to relax, and that allow us to recharge. This brings us to the second action, is how can we insist in self-care? The answer is self-affirmation. Self-affirmation is a practice of consciously acknowledging and reinforcing our own worth, strength, and values. It's about taking a moment to remind ourselves of who we are, what we stand for, and why we matter. This is not about ego or self-centered. It's about grounding ourselves in a positive self-image that supports our well-being. because at its core, self-affirmation is a way to counteract the negative self-talk and doubts that can creep into our mind, particularly during stressful times. It's a tool for building resiliency, boosting our self-esteem, and fostering a healthy relationship with ourselves. And we can do this by incorporating self-affirmation into our daily routines, whether it's through your morning meditation, journaling, in our kitchen, on our desk, or even in our car. This can take literally a minute. So let us take a deep breath right now and intentionally telling ourselves that I am good enough. I deserve self-care and self-love. I'm taking that 30 minutes break today and walk around the park. Sleep is for the champs, and I am sleeping 8 hours tonight. Next action is practice mindful transitions. Between tasks and meetings, take a moment to breathe, to reflect, and mentally prepare what's next. These mindful transitions can help us approach each task with clarity and focus, and which long-term wise can help us to reduce stress. The fourth action is set boundaries. Protect our time and energy by setting clear boundaries between work and personal life. Learn to say no, delegate when is possible, and give ourselves permission to take breaks. So yes, in our line of work, we have a lot of people that rely on our leadership, deadlines to meet, and even last-minute emergencies. As time goes on, everything becomes urgent. And if everything is emergency, then nothing is urgent and important anymore. Thus, we need to learn to set boundaries and really distinguish between the real emergencies versus our own anxiety that does not allow us to slow down and want us to solve everything. So when I decided not to pursue that additional funding, that's an example of how I set boundaries. Last, seek support. Don't hesitate to reach out for help, whether it's through peer support group, talking with a trusted friend, or seeking professional therapy. Having a good support system is crucial. Sharing our experiences with others who understand can provide valuable insights and emotional relief. That's why programs like EDIC is so valuable, so important to us, to our people. So, in closing, I want to remind us that self-care is not just about surviving. It's about thriving. It's about creating a life where we can continue to give others without depleting ourselves in the process. By insisting on our own well-being, practicing consistency, setting boundaries, and seeking support, we can navigate the challenges of compassion fatigue and burnout with resiliency and strength. Remember, taking care of ourselves is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of wisdom. When we care for ourselves, we are better equipped to care for others. And in a world that often demands more than we have to give, this is a gift of immeasurable value. So, thank you all for listening and watching. It's a great honor to share with you all my thoughts and experiences about self-care. So thank you all. If you enjoy my talk, please also check out my blog online at Coffee with JR. And you can also find me on LinkedIn and Instagram, also under Coffee with JR. Again, thank you all so much.